So here we go. All right.
Okay.
Thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us today. Um, we want to do these workshops just to give you some information and tips that maybe you didn't have beforehand. So,
Right.
I am Professor Christian Lucas. Those of you who don't know me, I am the director of the Writing Center, and then I'm going to allow Merle and Linda to introduce themselves. Who wants to go first? And it can be just short, who you are, what you do.
Okay. Hello, I'm Merle Thornton, Professor
Hi.
Merle Thornton, Assistant Professor of English. I teach English 101 and 103 Introduction to Literature, and one of the Writing Center coaches.
Thank you, Merle. And then Linda.
Hi, I'm Linda Raymond Ellison. I help out at the Writing Center, and I can do it either by Zoom or I can come in and meet you at some times. The advantage of me is that I can Zoom with you at odd times if you're working and need to work it into a schedule. So just email me and we'll find a time.
Absolutely. All right, thank you. And so a lot of what I do, I could not do without Miss Linda and Professor Thornton. So I do appreciate you all. I hope I tell you that enough. And also, I teach English. I teach English 102, so that's the second level of English composition. I'm also teaching Intro to Literature. I'll be teaching Intro to Research next semester. So, I'm a part of the English team. And what we want to talk about today is the big one, the big final paper or even a presentation that is coming. It's not going to stop coming, but that is coming up at some point near the end of your semester. And we want to take the fear out of it because it could be an anxiety-inducing assignment because this is your last assignment. This is your final. There's a lot of as far as your grade, a lot rides on this assignment. So we want to kind of ease your nerves about it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And since we're a small group, feel free to raise your hand to ask questions if you know how to raise your hand on the app, or you can just put something in the chat. And if I'm just talking and I don't realize you put a question in the chat, you can unmute yourself and ask your question that way. But we're a small group, so we should be able to manage. All right, we'll get started. So this is about the big one. This is our last workshop of the semester. I wish we had been able to do more workshops. Unfortunately, some things got in the way, but this is our last workshop for the fall, and I think it's an important one. So the big one, preparing for that final paper. And again, maybe you don't have a final paper in all of your courses. Maybe you have a presentation. I think some of what we talk about today is going to cross over into even presentation type assignments. So if you have to do a PowerPoint or something like that, or if you have to give a speech, right? You can still apply these tips to that speech or that PowerPoint. Let's see. So this workshop will cover, and I have to move over my feed of your faces over here. But this workshop will cover understanding the assignment first. That is huge. Asking important questions. We're going to talk about pre-writing and what that means and what that entails. We'll also talk about drafting, proofreading, and how to get help when you feel like you're stuck, right? And we all get stuck sometimes. So, why should you prepare now? Why are we having this conversation? Well, first, I'll go ahead and say that we only have a few weeks left. Who can tell me the last week of classes or the last day of classes? Who knows that answer?
Isn't it the 21st?
It is the 21st of November. So we have less than a month left. right? So you should be thinking about your final paper, your final assignment. Thank you, Miss Gwen. So your grade, we know if you read your syllabus and if your
Mhm.
professor explained this, your grade rests on your final assignment. Now, it all depends on how your professor outline the percentages. Like, I don't know how heavy your final paper is going to weigh compared to all of your other assignments, but it's an important assignment. It's an assignment that absolutely you cannot skip. For some courses, you cannot pass the course without even attempting to turn in this assignment. Again, whatever it is. And this is an assessment, right? And it's your chance to demonstrate what you have learned. And so in this workshop, we will discuss your finals, whatever, again, whatever that is, but the finals that involve writing, especially papers. And the purpose of this workshop is to help prepare you. So, see if my bats work here. So you can get started early and submit that assignment on time. Again, we are done after November the 21st. Your professors are going to be thinking about Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving turkey, family, right? And we have to submit your grades by a deadline. So you need to work and make sure you have your due date on the calendar for that final paper. Also, we want to help you prepare so you can do your best work and not mediocre work, right? We don't want you to give just what you felt like giving with this paper. We don't want you to do, the bare, well, the bare minimum, okay, but we want you to do above the minimum, right? But we want you to give yourself a chance to do really, really good work. And then lastly, we want you to end your course right on the right foot. Uh, you worked so hard all semester, right? You had to get up, you had to walk into class, even when you didn't feel like it. You had to stay up late. You had to, really read a lot of text, do a lot of writing already. End the course the right way by making sure this final assignment is everything that it should be.
Right.
So first, let's talk about what your professor wants and understanding the assignment. Because if you don't understand the assignment, if you don't understand what your professor is asking you to do, guess what? You're not going to give your best work. But first, we have a question for you. And I have not done polls a lot, so I'm going to please bear with me. I'm going to hit escape. So everyone should see this poll on their, or maybe I was supposed to hit this. Oh, that's what I was supposed to do. Everyone will see this poll on their screen, all right? If you're not a student, you will simply select I'm not a student so we can count the students and get their answers. So let me launch. And again, this is my first time. Does everyone see the questions?
Yes.
Okay, it was supposed to be one question at a time, but if you want to go ahead and answer all three, go ahead. I got to learn how this works next time. Thanks. And it looks like you're driving. Is it Reverend Raymond? Yes. So I don't want you to try to answer the polls. I want you to drive safely. All right. So it looks like, all right, I can end it now. Maybe. Okay. Does anyone still need more time? All right, I'm gonna end it. I think we're good. I think we're good. Okay, I'm gonna share the results. Yeah. All right. So the first question was, has at least one of your professors already mentioned or discussed your final paper? Two out of two of you said yes. So that is great that your professors are already talking, right? They're not, waiting until the very, very last week. The next question was, do you know when your final is due? That's an
Mhm.
important one. And again, two out of two of you said yes. And then, how often do you pre-write before you begin a big writing assignment? So this means, do you outline? Do you brainstorm ideas? What do you do to get
Mhm.
started? One of you said all the time, and one of you
Yep.
said sometimes, which is good. I was hoping no one said never. So very good. Um, all right. Let me X out of this. So, what does your professor want? Professors, we really try to explain the assignments by giving clear instructions, rules, and even examples. And when I say rules, I mean,
Right.
you know, you can't have certain things in your paper, or you need to have certain things, or I will deduct points if you forget to say this. Those are the rules I'm talking about. Examples could be maybe they shared an example or sample student paper so that you can sort of model and observe how another student wrote the same type of paper. Um, and then just general instructions, what to do, when to do it, how to do it. Knowing what your professor is asking for is crucial before you even sit down to write. You need to
Right.
have a clear understanding of what your professor is asking for. Um, some students are going to meet that professor's expectations. They are going to look at those instructions and get to work and again meet the expectations, while others may fall short in some areas. Maybe you did everything right except for the page count. Maybe you did everything right except for you forgot to include a citation from one of your sources. Um, Even again, missing the word count requirement or forgetting to include a title page, for example, that can affect your grade. If the professor wants it to affect your grade, right? So again, if your professor wants you to demonstrate that you know how to create an APA paper, but you don't do the APA work, right? You don't have the title page, you don't have citations, then that professor can't say that, hey, this student knows how to do APA, right? Because you fell short in that department. And that may turn your A paper into a B paper or your B paper into a C. So you don't want to fall short in any area. All right. So make sure you are reading the instructions, and we'll talk about asking questions in a little bit. But make sure you're reading instructions. Read them. And if a question comes up while you're reading, write that question down in case you forget it, so you don't forget it. And this was great advice from Miss Ellison, Raymond Ellison. Read the instructions again, right? Don't just read them one time and say, "Oh, I got it." Because when you sit down to actually start writing, you're going to forget what you got, right? Or it's going to be confusing, or something is going to confuse you that you didn't think about first or earlier. So go back and read those instructions two, three, four times, however many times it takes for you to say, hey, I got this. I know what I'm doing. Let me see. Any questions, or for those of you who already know what your assignment is, or your professor has already discussed it, what is your understanding of what your professor wants you to do? I'm just curious. And you can just talk or you can put it in the chat. What is your understanding of what your professor is asking you to do for that assignment?
Well, can you hear me?
I can.
My professors, they want punctuation, grammar, spelling,
Okay.
and I don't use AI, so that's not, I do not. I just use my brain and work with that.
Yeah.
But those are the main things, and the format. Make it connect, make it cohesive and
Okay.
understandable.
Okay. Can you give me an example of one of your courses and what the final assignment is, if you want
Okay,
to share?
with hip hop communication,
Okay.
we're on a course called the Digital Underground. And from the beginning, we've studied the beginning of hip hop, underground, now it's above ground, and now it's a conglomerate.
Hmm.
So this paper that I'm writing about is talking about how the internet has impacted my life
Okay.
and the things that I do and see. Um, I have to write this paper, and it's going to start off because of the internet. And I was telling Professor Jones about this lady that I watch on internet. Her name is Sheila Hall Green. She's a lupus warrior.
Okay.
What she does makeup. But not only does she do makeup, she's a grandmother. And to see her before picture and to see after she's made up, she uses all sorts of props, feathers, fans, uh, coverings, head wraps,
Mm-hmm.
just to see the transformation is inspiring. Plus, she believes in giving out big girl energy.
I love it. So you're writing
So,
about her,
yes,
essentially.
yes,
Okay. Okay.
yes,
Good. Okay. Thank you. That sounds like I'll have to look her up.
yes, Sheila Hall Green.
Okay.
And the transformation, Professor Lucas, is unbelievable.
Okay. Thank you for
Just
sharing.
the thing she does, she always talks about she doesn't throw her old wigs away. She doesn't always wear her wigs like most people do, with the tag in the back. She flips it around, adds pieces, adds scarves. It's
Okay.
amazing.
Good. So it sounds like you know what you're doing when it comes to writing that
Yes.
about this person. Um, does anybody else want to share their understanding of their one of their assignments? Or you can share if you still are not quite sure. If you still have some things you have to straighten out about what you're being asked to do.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Khalil.
Yes.
Awesome.
Um,
Welcome.
so in my foundations of management class, our assignment is an essay. It's about your Myers-Briggs personality type.
Okay.
And so I know that he wants it to be in APA format, which I'm pretty sure I'm good with.
Good.
And basically just a report on what your personality type is and just writing all about that.
Okay.
It's not really like he didn't really say what he wanted to be too focused on, but like just a report about it. Just like other people who have the same personality type that might be more notable, what your personality type says about you, stuff like that.
Okay.
It's like
So,
a
and it sounds like
five-page
it's
paper.
gonna go over definitely things that you all have covered in the class.
Yeah, because we had spent a couple classes talking about it. So
Okay. Good. Okay. Good. So you also sound confident that when you sit down to write this, you know what you're gonna write.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Good. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And I see that Idrin put in the chat that he knows his professors are looking for key points in their essays, in the students' essays. So good. Yes, we definitely go over key points in English 102, as it helps us to organize our papers. So good. Thank you all for sharing. So we know what our professor wants, or maybe we're still struggling with some understanding of the assignment. But this is where asking important questions comes into play. And these are basic questions that you need the answers to. And we've already done our polls, so I'm going to skip that because Again, I didn't realize it was going to pop up all three questions. I thought I could choose one at a time. But let's talk about asking those important basic questions that some students either never ask or maybe their professor never makes it clear. So, how can you make sure you understand the assignment? And again, what if your professor forgot to mention something very important? Now, as a professor, I will say that I've had students who ask questions that were in the instructions of the assignment. So the answers to their questions were right there on Canvas. So I either answered their question when they asked me again, or I told them, just look back on Canvas. It's right there at the top, right? But make sure before you ask those questions that you have already looked at the instructions. So if your professor has given you the instructions on paper or on Canvas, go back and look at that first before you ask. Now, if you're in the classroom and your professor is just now talking about the assignment, of course, obviously, that is a good time to raise your hand, right? You don't have to, if you don't have the instructions right in front of you, if that question pops up, go ahead and raise your hand. Never be afraid to ask those questions. But again, if you're at home, it's 7 o'clock at night, you have a question, that's your chance to go to Canvas to see if your professor has already told you what you need to know. But some of the basic questions, the due date, which is why I was asking, do you know the due date for your final paper yet? Um, Knowing the due date helps you prepare, right? That tells you how much time you have. Well, I've got 3 weeks to get this done, or I've got 4 weeks, right? So knowing the due date for that paper um, really sets you up early. It gives you the chance to start early. Also, we all, you're taking multiple courses, so you have to keep all of your due dates together, right? You need to know the due date for this course, that course. So make sure you're putting this on a calendar, writing it down, something, but keep your due dates together. And again, remember, after November 21st, school has ended, right? And again, your professors are going to be in grade mode. So submitting your assignment late may not be an option for you if you haven't already arranged that with your professor. So after asking about the due date, know what you have to write about. Know what, again, understanding assignment, what do I have to write about? What do I have to discuss in this paper? Um, you all have already, Khalil and Miss Gwen have already kind of discussed the topics of your paper, right? So you know what you're writing about. Some students don't, or some students still get confused about that. Again, that is when you raise your hand, ask that professor to clear that up for you. Do you know if you'll need to conduct research and include sources? Some professors are not going to require sources, while others, your paper may drop by a grade if you don't have sources in there, right? Or a letter grade, drop by a letter grade. So make sure you know if you need sources. Now, I'm going to tell you, and all the writers on the call are going to tell you that if you are quoting from someone else, if you're quoting or if you're paraphrasing from another source, that's research. You have to cite that and you have to have that on a reference page or a works cited page. That's automatic, even if your professor doesn't tell you to do it. If you know you got a quote from, and I'm thinking of you, Miss Gwen, Maya Angelou, or you got a quote from that textbook that your professor wanted you to read, that's research. You have to cite it and you have to have a works cited page or a reference page. Hope everybody's clear on that. That's automatic. Also, other important questions. How many pages or what's the word count? Many times your professor is going to tell you, hey, this has to be 5 pages, 7 pages, or they will give you a word count instead. If you don't see that anywhere, or if they haven't mentioned it, that's a good question to ask because you don't want that little thing to get in the way of a good grade. Some more important questions What type of sources can I use? Are you allowed to use videos? Are you allowed to use songs? Some courses talk about songs and song lyrics and music artists. You may be able to use a song as one of your sources. Um, Knowing what types of sources you can and cannot use, again, will save you stress when you look at your grade and, maybe you see some deductions because you used a source that you weren't supposed to use. That's a good question to ask. Also, what is your citation style? Now, usually I would say Simmons prioritizes APA in our courses. We have been doing that also in English, even though we're kind of using MLA as well when it comes to the literature course. But know what your citation style is, and that's only if research is involved. If you're not researching or quoting from a source, you don't need a citation style because you're not going to cite anything. But again, if you have sources, you have to have a citation style as far as formatting. Well, even if you don't have sources, you still have a format you have to have. As far as, do you need a title page for MLA? Do you have to have the MLA heading at the top? And if anybody has questions about any of that, we are happy to help you out if you need more help in that area. And then probably I think one of the most important questions, how will this be graded? How are they going to grade your paper? Again, what are they looking for? What are they going to take points off for? What is the rubric? Ask about those things. And you may feel like, well, I'm getting on my professor's nerves. I don't want to do that. That you are advocating for yourself. You are advocating for your grade. It is okay to ask these questions. I think my laptop is trying to lose battery power. So I am going to move to a different socket while I talk. Sorry about that. So, are there any questions about asking important questions? Does anybody have a question about that? Or any experience they've had when it came to asking questions? And I apologize again for this. I'm moving while I talk to you. Is that going to charge you up? There we go. Got some power here. Okay. Everybody still with me? All right, good.
Yes.
So, okay, good. Okay, good. I was like, oh no. All right. So everybody feels comfortable with asking questions of their professors. Good. Oh, I was supposed to raise the skeleton hand. There it is. All right. So now let's talk about another important thing that can help you prepare for that paper. Pre-writing. And these are the things you can do before you actually sit and start typing. We've been doing this in English 102, as Idrin knows now, as Miss Gwen knows from the past. But pre-writing is just a smart strategy. So once you understand that assignment, you got your questions answered, get started by doing some pre-work. And this will help you when you actually sit down to write. You're going to feel confident because you already know what you plan to do. You already have some things in place for you. And what do I mean? So first, all those notes you took in class, those handouts, those passages from your assigned text, go back over those things, right? Your professor gave you all those notes for a reason. Those PowerPoints, those lectures they gave in class, that was not just for fun, right? They gave you those things because honestly, they were thinking about your final project. Everything leads to your final project or your final paper. If you're an online student, this also means go back and watch those professors' those recorded videos they posted, right? Again, there may be something in there that you need in order to do this paper. Okay. So hopefully you all took some good notes.
Yes.
The lectures, good. But that's part of pre-writing. So going back and reading those notes, those handouts, passages from the text, what have you. Pre-writing also means brainstorming. So even if you understand what you're being asked to do, maybe you don't know how you're going to approach it. Maybe you don't know what your topic is going to be. So I can imagine that Miss Gwen, for example, when she was deciding on who she was going to write her paper about, she may not have known it right away, but she may have had to think about it for, a little bit. And I know in English 102, Idrin's course, his classmates, they brainstormed their ideas for a topic related to AI. So we went through that process. But that's just, that can be as simple as sitting down and making a list of things that you think you may want to talk about. Okay. And also, brainstorming helps you develop your thesis. If you have to have an argument in your paper, a thesis, brainstorming will help you get to that argument. What do I want to say? What is my main point? What information do I want to give the reader of this paper? Let's see. Okay. And then another pre-writing tip is to outline, right? So again, before you sit down and actually start typing, try outlining what you think you might want to say. So creating an outline is like creating a map of your paper. First, in this paragraph, I'm going to talk about this. Then in this section, I'm going to talk about that. And then in this section, I'm going to talk about this, right? It's just a smart strategy. Creating an outline that you can put right beside you while you're typing is going to keep you focused. It's going to keep you on task. I know some students will complain about themselves. They'll say, well, I'll start off talking about this topic, but then I'll drift away and start talking about something totally off the wall. Outlining can help you avoid that. Okay? Outlining can help you stay on topic. You know what you're going to say before you even start writing. Does everybody get that?
Yes.
And again, we have examples of outlines we can show you. We can help you outline your paper. We can help you brainstorm. And when I say we, I mean the Writing Center, right? So if you're still deciding on a topic for a paper that's coming up, we can help you pre-write as well. Pre-writing is also the time to gather your references. So, and I remember this in grad school when I was stressed. I'm sure my colleagues remember as well, having like sheets of paper all over our desk or all over our kitchen table as we're getting ready to sit down and write. And those sheets of papers are from sources, or maybe you had books scattered everywhere, right? That's also considered pre-writing because you already gathered all your sources. You know what you're going to pull from and what information you're going to include in your work. All right. I am a huge fan of writing in drafts. And again, we're doing this in English 102 as well. So drafting, I think, is another smart strategy. It is writing your assignment in drafts, right? So you have a first draft, maybe a second draft, depending on how much time you have, and then your final draft. So writing your assignment, that paper in drafts, gives you the opportunity to improve your assignment over time, right? You start off with the first draft, it's not great. Then you go back and look at it again, you fix it up, and then finally you look at it one more time, you check every little thing, and now you're ready to submit. But you can only do this if you did not wait until the last minute. You should not try to draft a big 7-page or 10-page essay or research paper a week before it's due. You need time to get this done, right? So don't wait till the last minute. If you can give yourself 2 to 3 weeks to get started before the due date, That is ideal, in my opinion. So again, I had my bets going out of order there. All right, so draft one is rough. It's okay for this draft to be a hot mess. It's okay if your punctuation is not good, your grammar is not good. It's okay if your thoughts on the page are out of order, because this is just a rough draft. Keyword rough. It's supposed to be ugly. And the goal is to at least get something down on paper or get something on that screen, right? At least you can walk away and say, hey, I got started. I have something to start with. But you have to do that part. You have to sit down and get started. And then from what, I've read with Anne Lamott, a great writer who wrote her essay. My students know this essay, but Shitty First Drafts. She talks about how to write in drafts, and she talks about how after you write your first draft, give it a day or two, or even a few days, take a break, don't think about it, and then go back to that paper draft when your mind is fresh. You had time to rest, you had time to think a little bit. That's when you go back to it and fix it up. That's when you do your second draft. So your second draft is where you make significant edits. So, right, maybe you take out something you don't like anymore and you replace it with something better. So that's, replacing it with a better paragraph, a stronger paragraph, maybe a new idea that you want to put in the paper, but you're making changes, you're making cuts, right? But you're also adding things, right? And this is also the time to add in information from your sources if you haven't done it yet. And this is your time to push yourself toward that page count or that word count goal. So if you're at page 4, but you need a 5th page, your second draft is your chance to push, push, push until you get to page 5, or at least the bottom of page 5. And then your third and final draft, that is when all you have left to do now is proofread. This is proofreading your punctuation, proofreading your grammar, your spelling. This is reading your sentences out loud. I am a huge proponent of reading your sentences out loud, because if it doesn't sound good or well constructed when you are reading it yourself, then guess what? It's not going to sound good on paper either. So reading it out loud allows you to catch those mistakes that your eyes glossed over. Everybody understand that? So if you want to be alone, so nobody thinks something's wrong with you, they don't think you're talking to yourself, that's when you're in your room or somewhere in your home, read those sentences out loud as if you're giving a speech. And that way you can hear it. This is also the time, my goodness, to check your citations, your format. Do you have that title page? Do you have your paragraphs indented? Are your sentences double spaced? These are the last minute things to check before you hit the submit button. Because once it goes to your professor, especially depending on how much time is left, your professor may not be able to look over your paper and say, hey, you forgot to double space. Send it to me again in double space. They may not have time to do that. And if that professor is going to take off points because it's not double spaced, you're going to lose those points, right? So check all of these little annoying things before you hit the submit button. That's what you do with your third draft. Any questions about drafting? Is anyone already using this process? And this is a writing process, right? Does anyone already start off with a rough draft and then they go back and fix it up?
Yes, I do.
My biggest thing is making sure I get my citation doing in the APA style.
Yes.
Making sure I got the citations in everything on the first page, and then also my references, because we're doing a self-analysis in our class. So make sure that my references more or less stuff on YouTube, and make sure that I got the right thing in the reference page. And the middle part of it, I pretty much it takes care of itself, but I just gotta make sure I have something that a title that will draw people to what I'm trying to write.
Okay. So like a creative, eye-catching title.
Yeah.
Yeah. So two things I'm gonna say because you made me think of them. And thank you for sharing. So as far as titles, and again, the writers in the group will attest to this. Sometimes you don't know your title until you're finished because you've done all the writing and it doesn't really come to you until the end. So don't stress if you don't have a creative title yet. You it may come to you after you read over what you wrote, and you'll be inspired then with a title. So, as long as you have that title before you turn it in. The other thing I have taught students because it worked for me. I have taught students to save the citations for last because it's such a technical thing of inputting the name of the author, the page number in parentheses, and the references. It's very tedious work. You don't want that to get in the way of the paper. You want to knock the paper out first as far as your paragraphs, your statements, your thesis, your key points. Knock that out first if you can, and then go back, add your citations last. And that way you know that it's the last thing on your list of things to do. And you're kind of prepared for it mentally because again, it is not fun work. Citations are not fun. So my suggestion, and it may work differently for other people, but my suggestion is to save the citations for last and the APA, MLA for last. And that way you can dedicate, 3 hours to it if it takes 3 hours, right? Um, but that's just my suggestion. That's what worked for me when I was a student. Yes, Miss Linda.
Could I make a suggestion, which is all the points you make are good ones,
Hmm.
but it's awful, awful easy to forget a place where a citation needs to be.
It's true.
So you may, as you want to go along, put an XXX or something at the end of each sentence that needs a citation, so you don't forget, because that's plagiarism.
Miss Linda, I need to get your times. I've spoke with you once before, but I need to come back in and sit down with you.
Send me an email and we'll work out a time when I can come in and meet you.
Okay.
I'd love to do that.
All right.
Thank you for that, Linda, the tip about that. Yes, I think that's a great idea too, to like put something beside that quote so you know to go back to it and put that citation. That is really good. I probably could have used that advice when I was in grad school. All right. And I know that we're running out of time, but I don't have much left. So I'm not going to go that deeply into proofreading. I've kind of talked about that a little bit, but make sure you don't skip this part. I've seen this. I'm sure Professor Thornton has seen this. Dr. Stevenson is online on the calls. I'm sure she has seen this where students skip this part. They don't go back over and check their work before they hit the submit button. And so we're seeing all of these little mistakes that they could have caught, right? Um, and I get it. Sometimes, I mean, you're rushing, you're ready to get this done. You have 2 hours left. So at that point, you're like, I just got to get this paper in. Just make sure, again, you start early enough so you don't skip the proofreading step. So give yourself enough time to proofread. That should be a part of your plan off top. Because remember, you want to submit your best work, not your worst work. You want your work to not still be messy, right? It may have started off messy. It may have, been rough, may have been ugly, but you don't want to turn that in for this grade. You want it to be well improved. You want to go through it with a fine-tooth comb, as they say. So don't submit your messy paper, submit your best paper. So make sure you check everything first. I gotta move this over. Be sure your sentences look good and sound solid. Make sure you followed all instructions. Did you give your professor what they were looking for? Did you respond to whatever that writing prompt was? Did you follow everything they told you to do? Make sure you delivered on what you were asked to deliver. Again, responding to the writing prompt, hitting those targets. If they said to include information from the textbook that we used in class, make sure you include the information, right? That's off top. And again, your professor, we take the time to give you instructions because we want you to have a great outcome with this paper. So make sure that you are really paying attention to what we're asking you to do and our expectations. And also, I was going to mention this, Grammarly. We do use Grammarly. We have it for students to check their writing. And that's the little thing. Well, not little things. I don't want to say that, but that's grammar, punctuation. So writing mechanics. That is what we want you to use Grammarly for. We do not want you to use Grammarly to create AI generated text. Grammarly does have an option for that to create AI generated text. Do not click on anything that says AI or improve it because then it becomes the AI's paper and it's no longer your paper because it really changes a lot of things in what you wrote. And some students are getting dinged for AI. So again, use Grammarly for punctuation check, spelling check. Do not use Grammarly for AI. And if we have time, I'm happy to show everyone what that looks like if you don't already know how Grammarly works. All right, so now let's talk about how to get help because we are not afraid to ask for help, right?
Right.
I knew you were going to say right, Miss Glenn. But thank you. So we are all here to help you. When I say we, I'm talking about the people on this
Yeah.
call. This assignment will challenge you. And again, by the end of the semester, you're going to be ready to just bounce, right? Holidays are coming up. You're ready for that break that you earned. But don't feel like you're alone. Many students don't know where to go to get help or who to turn to. But some students do know how to get help, but still they choose not to reach out. They choose to just go at it alone. College writing can be tough. You already probably know that. So advocate for yourself by taking advantage of the help we have for you. So I would say that your professor is your first stop. Again, you should not be afraid to ask your professor for help, should not be afraid to ask questions. Your professor should be your first stop. They know that assignment more than anyone else, right? They created it, they designed it. So go to your professor if you're still confused or you want a little help. But obviously the Writing Center is here as well, right? We're your next best resource. We can help you start your paper, help you if you're in the middle of it, if it's a work in progress, we can help you from there. And or we can review it when you're done. If you want to wait until you're done for us to look at it, that works too. But just remember your deadline. Don't send us your paper when it's due in 24 hours because that's not going to give us enough time to really give you the time and energy you deserve, right? We want to be able to look at your paper across, a week's worth of time or even just a few days. But, please be mindful of your timing. Timing is everything. If you haven't heard that before, right? But this is how we are here to help you. And again, I can't preach it enough. Start early. Starting early is thinking like a college student, right? This is how a college student thinks. I have to start early. I have to jump on this way before the deadline. All right, just in case you didn't know how to get a hold of us, so we are located, the Writing Center is located second floor of A&L. We have an email that you can use. We also have days where you can just come in and get help. Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we have times where you can just walk in without appointments, or you can make an appointment. If there's a time or day that works best for you, reach out to us to see if we're available for you. We work one-on-one with you, no problem. Miss Linda has explained that she can also work with you after school hours. As long as you give her, the heads up, right? Don't try to set your appointment 5 minutes before you want to meet with her. So give us time to plan ahead and work with you. All right. Y'all have been awesome. Are there any questions that we can answer for you?
Ma'am.
Any questions at all? What time is it? Okay, yes. Yes, sir.
I'm gonna ask, I had once before, I guess I got it from you all. It was a short, YouTube video on APA style.
Okay.
What is that, um, um, name of that video, if you still have it, so I can kind of
Um,
like go over it again. I think I had it saved, but I don't know what I did with it, so.
I think
I'm
there's
gonna
some on the library site and maybe even on the Writing Center site, aren't there, Professor Lucas?
I have to go back. I know that we're still working on posting videos. Do you know how long ago that was?
That it's probably been a couple of years, I guess.
Okay. So I'm
Um,
gonna go back and I'll do two things. I'll look for the video, and what I'll do, I'll send it to you personally.
okay, that would be
Um,
great.
Raymond. And then I'll also try to get that one up, especially it's that time of year. So I'm going to try to get that up on the library's website or the Writing Center page. Does everyone know how to find that page?
The Writing Center page.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not exactly sure. I seen it in my email, and that's how I
I
got to the Zoom. So,
gotcha. Okay.
mhm.
So our emails do work great. Let me see here. I'm gonna go. So let's see. I'm gonna go to the main Simmons website. I have it
Right.
bookmarked up here. Hopefully the internet works in our favor. There we go. All right. So, and this is if you don't feel like typing in, the URL, but you can go to Simmons's page. I think you can go to FalconNet. Let's see here. And this may not be the shortest shortcut. So you can go to FalconNet and then you can go to library. And sometimes FalconNet just pops up when you log in, like when you're on campus and you're on the Wi-Fi. But all you have to do at the top of the library's page, right here, we have a tab, Writing Center.
Okay.
You click on that, and that tells you how to get in touch with us, tells you our hours. And let,
Chris, Dr. Lucas, can you do a share screen on that?
oh, I'm so sorry, y'all. Zoom, I'm telling you, me and technology. Hold on just a second. I apologize. Thanks for saying something. I was
Yeah.
just going with it, right? Let's see here. So I'll go
Yeah.
through the steps again, no problem.
Go
You
up
all
and
see
log
the,
in on my main computer. Uh,
okay. So
I
again,
can use this one too. So,
oh, good.
mm.
So go to Simmons's main page, simmonscollegeky.edu, and then FalconNet up here. Click. There we go. And then from there, you have all the tabs for the email, Canvas, and all that. Click on the libraries tab. And then there we are at the top, Writing Center. Click on that. And again, this has information of how to get in touch with us, who we are. Um, and then let's see.
Keep
It does
going
have a
down.
tab for handouts and
Keep
video.
going down. Keep going down.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, well, yeah. So this is an old presentation that was done by one of our former, is that what you're talking about, Linda?
I guess I am, yeah.
Yeah, the old APA slideshow. It's very good, I think. Um, so you could use that, but it's on the main page of the Writing Center page. Let's see. Also, there's a sample APA paper with notes. There are some other sources listed on the side, resources, writing websites that talk about APA.
I think OWL has some very good stuff on, that's very helpful.
The Purdue OWL, or
Mhm.
is this something that's Excelsior?
Yeah.
Yes,
If I could,
yes.
I was going to say, if I could add, Professor Lucas, you can also get to the Writing Center page directly from academics.
Okay.
So if you go to the main Simmons page,
Yes. It's
because
spinning.
it's listed along with all of the other academic resources. So if you click on academics at the top,
Right here.
and you scroll down,
Yep.
you should see the Writing Center. So when you click it, it gives you a short little explanation, and then click Learn More, and it takes you directly to the Writing Center page instead of to the library page and then to the Writing Center.
Right. And I know I have seen this. Thank you so much for because I remember we talked about, having access on the
Getting
main.
it updated. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that, Dr. Stevenson. So you click on that, click Learn More, and circles you back to the page. Yes.
Okay, Writing Center.
And then handouts and videos, what we have so far, mostly just handouts. So we are again working to add videos that we've recorded. But yeah, it has handouts here, APA reference page, citations. And again, in our English courses, we are trying to use more of MLA because that is traditionally what is used in English courses as far as literature courses, things like that. So we'll have some things for MLA as well. All right. That is all I have for you. We are over time, looks like. Does anybody have any last questions before we go?
That's it. I got my map now, so gotta get busy.
Good. I know that's the hard part. Getting busy. I really appreciate you. We appreciate you. Please reach out to us if you all need help with any of your work.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great job today. Great job.
Reach out today. Yes, absolutely. Thank you all.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Good to see you, Linda.
It's good to see you. I'm glad you mentioned Anne Lamott. I
Yeah.
love that book and that chapter.
Yes, I haven't had the pleasure of reading the entire book, but that chapter always, yes, I was so happy when my professors introduced it to me. I know Miss Gwen, I've given it to you all, right? Well, she's gone.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop.
Well,